Welcome back to Brunch with Brittany, another episode of a Girl's Girl podcast. Get your drink ready because we have a lot to discuss today. Okay, so if you haven't heard or seen Big Sean's comments about Jhené Aiko and their relationship, have a seat. We got a lot to get into. If you haven't seen it, we're going to get into what he said about his relationship with Jhené Aiko. And mind you, these two have been seeing each other on and off, but ultimately together since 2016, okay? Fast forward to now, that makes 8 years. This is almost 10 years that they've been together, okay? Keep that in mind as we go into this. So, Big Sean does an interview and they ask him like, okay, did you secretly get married to Jhené Aiko? Or, do you have plans to? So Big Sean goes on to explain that, first of all, the answer was no. There's no secret marriage that happened between the two. Okay, and then he goes on to explain why he's not married to her yet. And we're going to listen to the audio because I want to pick it apart as he's saying it so that you can really understand what I think he's saying behind what he was saying to the camera and all of that. So we'll get into it. All right, I'm going to go to the video. But I was just like, I just saw so many red flags in what he was saying about the reasons why it hasn't happened yet. So this is him right after he's been asked if they are secretly married. Let's start.
No, there has not been a secret industry marriage. I think that it's a little personal.
You can tell that he's like trying to say it the right way so that he doesn't offend Jhené, but it did not work. Let's go.
I mean, but just like to be real with you, just like any people who.
Whenever someone says just to be real with you, I always feel like you're giving yourself some time, but go on.
Have dealt with love. We've had our ups and downs. You know what I'm
Every
saying?
relationship has that.
And I think it's still finding the right navigation through it all. I don't know if to me, marriage symbolizes like the best relationship. People be like, oh, you got to get married.
Okay, right there. So he's already saying that marriage symbolizes the best relationship. And I think if you talk to anybody and you really think about it, like, no, anyone that's married, it's not like you finally come to this perfect space together and it's like, all right, now we'll be married and now we're good. And now, we won't have any problems. Nothing to work on. We're done working on stuff. I don't think any married couple has ever said that. In fact, the work continues. But go on, Sean.
To me, I feel like having a relationship is first and foremost, and like marriage is a byproduct of that. And I feel like a lot of people get the idea of like, oh, you have to get married, but then it's like, to me, that's almost a fear-based way of thinking too, because then people be getting divorced. The divorce rate's so fucking high, and
So he starts talking about divorce and the divorce rate being super high, which, if you've always heard the statistics are like that you have a 50% chance of divorce when you get married, right? If you look at it like that, but you bring it to your own relationship, you're already just kind of using to me, that's an excuse. Like, well, divorce rate's so high, so, I'm not going to get married. I'm not going to be a part of that. Meanwhile, your relationship can be something completely different and never lead to divorce. And you wouldn't know just because you decided, like, it's probably not going to work. We'll go by the stats on this one. By the way, sacrifice her dreams, right? If she does want to get married. No, I don't want to take a chance of us divorcing. Let's not put it on paper, but okay.
I'm someone who, I'm not like discounting anything, and I'm not saying that we aren't gonna get married, but what I'm saying is that it's just.
So he's saying that he just said like, oh, I'm not saying we'll never get married, right? So then that leaves a question mark for Jhené. When? So then when are you gonna feel good about it? Because he already said we have work to put in, right? How much more work? It's been 8 years. You're coming up on a decade. And if you don't know about Jhené Aiko, you know that she wants to be married. She wants to be a wife, okay? That she wants to have the family and all of that, right? So already, this is something that she wants, is something that she dreamed of, okay? A vision for herself. And he's already like just holding it kind of like, it's in the air for her. It's possible. It's good. It might happen. I've thought about it, but not yet. Not yet.
Is I would like to do a lot. I would like to, and I don't like putting our personal business out there like that either. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I feel like, in general, we have so many relationships. It's like being peers, being in a group together, parents, romantic.
Okay, right there. They've worked together, they've made money together. Okay, they made a child together. We should have started there. They have a child together, which so confuses me when men will say, I'm not ready for that commitment of a marriage, or it could go wrong. But you'll have a whole baby with a partner, and that's not commitment. That doesn't seal it for you that, like, this is the one, this is who you should be with. And I get it, mistakes happen, okay? That's a whole nother story. But in their case specifically, I don't know if the baby was a mistake, but they welcomed it, with like love, and they were really happy about it, and they did keep it a secret for a long time. But it seems like it was something that they both agreed on, and they both decided to carry on with this. So they can he'll have a whole baby with her, start a family with her, but he's not convinced yet that she is worthy enough to be married to him. And I do say worthy because he's deciding it for her, right? He's like, she's ready. I'm sure Jhené is ready. Okay, like I said, this is something that she's always wanted, right? And especially with Big Sean. Do you not remember she had his whole face tatted on her arm? A portrait style of Big Sean on her arm. Like, if that doesn't tell you that someone is like, you are my forever person, not that I recommend that. I would never do that. I don't think that that's how you have to prove it. But just to show you that that's how much this girl is devoted to you, to be like, I will have your face on my arm, and everywhere I go, men will see it, right? And no man should want to mess with a girl who's got a whole other man's face on her body, okay? Something's wrong with you if you do that, because clearly she is, she's got someone. But okay, again, he's like, we've made a family together. Still can't put a ring on it though.
It's like, it's a crazy connection, because no matter what, we're always going to be tied together, no matter what.
See, right there, no matter what, we'll always be tied together. And I'm thinking he's talking about the baby there, because they had the baby, they'll always be tied together. So if that's the case, then why are you so hesitant to give her the ring? No matter what, right? You got stuff to work on. Well, isn't that worth working on? You've already started the family, to put it on paper, go forward. You'll work out. Why wouldn't you work out, right? You love her, she loves you. I mean, okay, but all right, Big Sean, go on.
I think that doesn't discount that, like, she and me both have to be on the same page. Mm-hmm. Not to say we aren't, but I feel like I can only speak for myself.
Yes.
That there needs to be like more work done, so we could keep going, because there's a lot of focus on our family. There's a lot of focus on careers and everything, and
right.
That is something that I feel like has not been the main focus.
I didn't understand what he said that.
Just figuring it out.
Oh, now look at you, Charlotte.
I'm just asking a question.
So he asked him if he was like, oh, so y'all must not really be together right now, and that's why you're talking like this. And then, he tries to say like, no, you're picking something else up. So who knows if there's something like maybe they're not really fully together, but I don't think so. I really do think, she's doing music, she's on tour, right? He's been on stage with her recently. Like, they're definitely together, but it's this idea that Big Sean is holding this ring from her. And I don't believe that you should just get married because like you're in that relationship, you've been together long enough, like get married. No, absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying. If you are not ready for that, if you don't feel comfortable with that, I get it. But if you're the woman in this type of relationship where you've been together for years, over 6, 7, 8, coming up on a decade, and that man still hasn't given you a ring, and there's always other reasons, right? Oh, I don't have the funds to get you the ring that I want, or I want to make more money before we do that, or whatever. There's reasons that they give you, but it's something that you really want, and you've both decided to be partners together. I think it's a shame if you waste that time waiting for your partner to be ready for that. And I think that's what Jhené's doing, even though they have a baby together. Like, girl, you are wasting these years waiting for Big Sean to give you that ring and give you that thing that you wanted. Because if that's the vision that you see for your life, and especially you've given so many years to a partner, you should expect that ring, because I know that there are some girls who are like, have convinced themselves, well, what's the paper mean? And you'll hear men say this too. The paper means nothing. What is it putting it on paper? Girls, there are a lot of benefits that come from being married and having it on paper. And you need to be thinking about the bigger picture of that. Not just because like, oh, if he put a ring on it, this is something, it is special, but that's it. No, you get benefits from it too. And you get more security from it. Say he were to walk away from you, right? He can leave you with nothing. If you're married, you have it on paper, you'll be left with something, right? You'll first of all, you also get tax benefits, okay? You go into one household together if you're not already doing that, so your bills go down. There's just financial benefits for you that you need to be thinking about long term so that you're okay too while you're giving this man your life, because studies also show that men gain more from relationships, let alone from marriage, right? When they get into a relationship, they gain a housekeeper, a chef, a caretaker for the kids who's taking the bulk work of that. They're gaining a lot. Even if it's not financial money from you, they're gaining that from you. And you need to be compensated for that, because you do need to have something. Money matters when that relationship ends. You got to think about that, because it's either, both of you, he leaves with something, you leave with nothing, or at least you both leave with something, right? I mean, think about that. So there's benefits. There's so many benefits from that. And again, not something to just do for the benefits, but you put in your time, you need to be getting those benefits from it. Like, don't get caught up with that. And sometimes men too want to hold you like that, like maybe, eventually I'll give you a ring, and then decide that, you know what, I don't want to be with you. And here you go, you wasted all these years waiting for him to be ready. He no longer wants to be with you, and now you are stuck, not feeling good about yourself, low self-esteem. Did you take care of yourself during the time that you were with him? Because now you're going to have to go back into the dating scene, and you're going to have to compete with other women, who did take care of themselves. These are all things that you need to be thinking about. And again, it's not for the end of it. It's just to make sure that you are good, because you are putting into it, okay? Even if you're not putting money into it, which I kind of see a lot of women, you are, and that's okay, but you need to make sure that you're safe on the other side of it. So when I heard him saying that, I'm like, Big Sean, because here's the thing. Oh, the other thing is that I didn't know this, but Big Sean proposed to Naya Rivera. Remember he used to be with her? They were together. They don't have any kids together. He proposed to her. So what does that, think about that. He was with a woman, dated her, enough was ready to get married to her, no kids together, but yet here's Jhené Aiko. She's put in all these years with him, and he still can't see it in her. He still can't see it. You gotta think about these things when these men give you these excuses. When these partners give you that excuse, it's like they say if he wanted to, he would. If he wanted to, he would. He did with Naya Rivera, but he wouldn't do it for Jhené. And again, Naya didn't get a tattoo of his whole face on him. I don't think she did. I mean, if you get two women to put your face on them, kudos to you. But I'm just saying, Naya did a lot less, and she was proposed to and given a ring. So you got to think about those things. Jhené, I don't know. She hasn't responded yet, but I bet you she is so mad right now. Like, she is definitely feeling some cracks in their relationship. If they weren't already, she's definitely got to reconsider some things. But maybe she won't, because they just had a baby together. So she's going to think, oh, well, I got to stay with him. Like, we got to keep this family together. Okay, you're thinking about that. But is he thinking about that? Is he thinking about keeping that family together? Because he won't give you the ring, but he'll give you the baby. And he'll technically probably always be there, right? Like, he's like, we're tied together forever. That doesn't mean that he's tied to you forever in the way that you want him to be tied to you. So I found that so interesting. And again, having the title of being a wife and a husband, it just holds more weight. If that's something that you want, that title does hold more weight, right? So versus you've been together almost a decade and you're going around family, he's got to introduce you as his girlfriend or his wife, but then they look down at your hand and you don't have a ring on it. Because I've known a relationship like that too, where the woman was like, oh, she would always refer to him as her husband. So I always assumed, I didn't even look at her hand. I just assumed that was her husband. Later, come to find out, she would just call him that because she was like, no, he hasn't put a ring on it, but eventually he will. And you know what happened with that? Eventually, she got tired of it. Few years went by and she gave him an ultimatum. She was like, I have kids with you. I want to do forever with you. If you do not give me that ring, I am gone. And guess what? took about a year or two later, but he put a ring on it, okay? So, and they're still happily married, whether it was forced or not, I don't know. But I think that they are happy. But she had to say that, right? Because he was going to be comfortable with like not putting that ring there, with not making that kind of commitment. And sometimes you do have to give that ultimatum. It's like, this is what I want. And again, it's about your vision. If that's really something that's important to you, stand on that. Do not waver. Don't hold off, especially that many years of your life, girlfriend, because you could have already been living that wife life if that's, something you saw for yourself, and you're purposely like holding off, hoping that man will see it. And you're giving him too much of the power. Like, you have so much more power, I promise you. And just mostly it's just to like stick to what you said, stand on business, like they say, for yourself. You'll be happier that way, trust me. Then you won't get embarrassed when they ask him why he hasn't married you, and he's like, we're still working on things, and you're like, what? Like, what do you mean we're still working? We're never gonna stop working on things because you keep messing up. I'm projecting here, I'm joking, but yes, I don't know if she's probably gonna stay with him again, but yeah, I thought that was so interesting that Big Sean had these kind of reasons to not get married. And maybe some, like, have you been through this? I have never felt like being married, okay? Thankfully, I've always felt like the younger years are for when you to explore, you go chase your career, you do all those things. But everyone's different, right? Some women, that's like the goal, is just to be married, to have that kid or kids, have the house and, the picket fence. And that's okay too. Like, everyone's vision is different. I just really want you to stand on whatever you saw for yourself. Make it happen. And on your time, because otherwise you'll get played. You don't want to get played, especially after giving him a child, which is a whole nother subject that I want to talk about, because I don't understand how in 2024, ladies, hear me out, why are we giving these men the babies before the ring? I don't get it. Accidents happen, whatever, that's different. But you are willingly having a child with a man who hasn't put a ring on it. That's backwards. You're giving him a baby. Like, there's so much, it takes so much off on your body, the time that it takes to heal from that. And then you could go through postpartum depression. There's just so many negatives that come with that pregnancy, other than the child is a beautiful thing, but your body goes through it, your mental goes through it. And you're going to do all of that, sacrifice, that. And then for what? For him to maybe see it in you, maybe give you the ring, leave you, start a family with someone else, give her the ring. I think that's why also, if you do see yourself that's your forever partner, hold off on those children. You will see, because children, as beautiful, as amazing as they are, there's a lot of costs that come with that. If you are wanting to build a career for yourself, a lot of women have to put that aside because they become, the main caretaker for the kids. So it's all about doing things the right way if you really want to do this life thing, right? And if you already have kids, don't even worry about it, sweetheart. You're past that. Like, this is what the cards you were dealt. Do better. Don't give the next man a child before the ring, So learn from it. I never feel like something is so permanent that you can't learn from it and fix it or do better the next time. But I do think that if you are childless right now, do not give a man a baby before the ring. Just don't do it. Trust me on this one. Your life will be happier, easier. Your goals will be more likely to be achieved if you do it this way, and then you don't get stuck to someone that maybe you thought was the one for you, and then you realize later, like, oh God, this guy's horrible. Because even then, a year is a good amount of time. Still need to know that person more. 2 years is a really good amount of time to get to know someone. I think after 5 years, if that's the person you really see yourself with, you definitely got to be like, all right. And maybe some women might even say 5 years is way too long. Again, it's all about like how quickly did you want to get married? After you know the person, of course, responsibly. Don't just jump in because, sorry for the military wives. I feel like that's something really common with the military. It's like they encourage you to hurry up and get married, right away, and then you get benefits from it, right? So a lot of financial benefits come from that. And I know a lot of people who get married so young, but you don't know that person really yet, and you haven't even fully developed into the woman you're gonna become. So don't do it too soon. I really feel like you got to give that time. But what is that time? What's that year mark for you? What would you say? Like, okay, this is the limit. I've known so many girls wait, and then they do see a ring, but again, this is like 10 years in, and this is after a lot of ultimatums, a lot of, this is it, it's now or never, and who wants to force the man to do it that way? Like, if I have to give you an ultimatum, did you really even want me like that? Like, no, I think the man should know, and he knows, honey, he knows if he wants to marry you or not. That is not a question that crosses his mind. If he's prolonging it, I feel like there's several different reasons why, but one is he doesn't see it in you, okay? He really doesn't want to marry you because of whatever reasons. So he's holding off, hoping that maybe that doesn't work out, he finds someone else. Or he's really just, I don't know. What is it? Is there men for you who won't give that woman the ring? What is it? And don't say it's because you have stuff to work on, because if you talk to married couples, they never stop the work. It never stops. There's no perfect relationship, right? So aside from that, what is it? Why? And I'm not saying, a new relationship, of course, take your time, but once you've decided, like, this is the person that you're in love with, why not put that ring on it? And, and if you are the woman that wants to get married and he's the guy that's like, I do not care about a ring whatsoever, I don't care if I ever get married, I've heard men say that, then you probably shouldn't be with that man, because you're going to try to make him marry you and you're going to have to force him to do it. And I'm telling you, it's not going to feel good. When the next man who will love you and wants to be with you will do it without you even thinking, right? Like, plan the whole thing for you, do a really nice proposal, something really unique. You've seen remember when that trend was going around with all the guys were like doing these really extravagant proposals? Do you remember the guy that did like a Bruno Mars? It was, I think I want to marry you. And he had like a whole group of people choreograph, and there was a car on the street where they were like dancing with it and ghost riding the whip. And he's like records this whole thing for her just to ask her to marry him, and, I like that. I like that energy into the proposal, right? Like, he thought about it. He really was excited about it. And I would think you would want that too, But if you want the forced ring, by all means, I don't condone that. I just wouldn't feel good about it myself. But that's just me. And again, I mean, maybe I stand on that. That is the way to do it. So who knows what's going to happen with Big Sean and Jhené Aiko, but if you're going through something like this and you've been in that relationship for this many years, I think you got to have that conversation. And unfortunately, if you got to give the ultimatum, you got to give it, but at least you'll get your answer, right? Like, what is it? And ask him, why won't you put a ring on it? Oh, the paper doesn't mean anything to me. Well, you know what? That's not fair to me. Okay, that's what you got to tell him. That's not fair to me, because there's a lot of benefits that come from this. And this is something that I really want. And I know I want to be with you. So what is stopping you from knowing that with me? You got to answer that. And he's got to have the answer for that question, because if he doesn't, and if he doesn't tell you, I don't know, or I just don't, then you need to be the one to walk away from it and not force his hand into it. It's just not going to work. To me, that's like a bad sign for the future. Even if he gives you that ring, it doesn't mean he really wanted to, or that he sees himself. Even maybe he might give you the ring and then you never make it to the altar. Okay, like there's that happens too. The ring the engagement ring doesn't even ensure that you'll make it to the wedding day, but it's a process, right? And you can get that going. Take care of yourselves and really read between those lines of when that man tells you he doesn't want to marry you yet, right? Or the excuse of, I don't have the money for it. No, he needs to be saving up for it. That's not a reason. That should not be the reason. Like, and so many women will be like, I don't even care about the size of the ring. I know some women who have gotten tattoos on their fingers just of a ring to symbolize the ring, right? And that was happy. That was good enough for them, So if it's about the money thing, no, I don't think that's a really good excuse. Now, if the woman is like, no, I want the nice ring, I want the nice wedding, okay, well, then he needs to be, budgeting for that, figuring that out in the meantime, right? But just because of that, no, that's not a real excuse. And man, you need to retire it, okay? Like, stop it. It's a lie. You're lying to her, and I'm calling you out for it. So I'm Brittany Gonzalez. This is the Brunch with Brittany podcast. Again, it's a girls girl podcast. Follow it. I'm on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all platforms, iHeartRadio, okay, Spotify, Apple Music. Brunch with Brittany. Hit follow. Share this with someone who needs to hear this, okay, with what Big Sean and Jhené Aiko are going through. Or is it you? I hope you learned something from this. Leave any comments in the comment section. Your thoughts. I want to know. Am I being too harsh on this? Because I don't think so. But you can leave those comments. Drop them below. Thanks for brunching with me. Cheers.